Hi guys. Today I thought we'd do something slightly different and I'll show you how to create your own dashboard and your own dashboard using some of the COVID-19 data sets that are around. So this is going to be a really quick one. So as you can see, we'll make this in a matter of minutes and I'll show you where I've got the data from as well. So what this dashboard is going to have is a map of all the US counties and their associated sort of number of cases to date, right? So when we click on one of these counties, one of these bubbles, what's going to happen is we're going to have a second graph here, and it's going to show us filter on that county and show us how to filter the daily number of cases obviously per county. So if you look at the New York City, what you'll see here is a different shape again. So see that? So that's kind of interesting, right? So if you click anywhere on the map here, you'll get more. So you can sort of compare different counties, check different counties, and see what kind of shape they had in the early days, number of cases in the early days, and if there's a second wave or anything like that, in the specific county. So that's kind of interesting. So let's get going and do this, eh? So what we're going to be using is Google Data Studio. So that's our visualization platform. And where I've just gone to data.world to just get my data set. So obviously, depending on, you want to be really careful about which data set you're getting because there's a lot of numbers flying around, and this might not be the most accurate, but it's not the worst either. So obviously, data.world is a free website. It just hosts a lot of different data sets. So you can just make up your account there for free and just Google different data sets. And this one's the US COVID-19 data from New York Times. And what I've done is just looked at downloaded the US counties CSV file. So if I just download that CSV file here, it's a 12 meg file, right? So once it finishes downloading, well, it's done already, we'll go here. So this is your homepage of Google Data Studio. So if we create a new dashboard, and we'll import this new data set that we've downloaded. So this is from scratch. We're starting this, so you can just follow along as well. So I'm going to upload my own file, upload my own data set, and I want to authorize Google Data Studio to actually use this connector. So that's okay. So once I upload this data set, so it's going to take about 30 seconds or so to upload. So it first uploads the data set, so this is relatively quick, and then it'll process all the data in the CSV file and detect which columns are date columns, which ones are number, which ones are category, and so on and so forth. So you can see it's processing. Now, when you've got the green status, that means it's done. So we can just add it. So the very first thing it's going to do is Data Studio loves, let me just get rid of this. Data Studio loves to just give you a sense of, that there is data in there. So it'll just throw up anything, any kind of graph, any kind of number. But what we want to do to get these two graphs, we need to actually do a little bit of data processing. So if we go to resources here and manage added data sources, this is the data set that we uploaded, US counties. So we're going to go edit this data source. So these are the columns that it has, right? So it's got cases, so the number of cases that per day, so it's similar to here. So it's got number of cases, number of deaths per day per county. So this is county, so days, county, state, and this is just geography code, so it's fine. We're not going to be using that one for now. So we've got county, we've got date, we've got deaths, we've got cases, number of cases, we've got this PIPS, state, and just normal record count, okay? So what we need is to create this map, and to make it a little bit more easy so this map is going to be within Google Maps. So what's going to happen is we're going to give it this address, so this county name, and it's going to look for the county in the world, in a worldwide map, right? So if I zoom out here, what happens is sometimes it'll find a similar looking or similar name in a county that's not necessarily in the US. Well, this is Guam, but it might be somewhere completely, different, right? To minimize that, the best way to do that is to actually create this county field, but add the country onto it. So I'll show you what I mean. So if we go into the editing data sets here, so I'm going to add a new field, county underscore country, and I've already got the formula just to save a bit of time, but I'll explain what it means. So what this is going to do is just going to concatenate a few different columns. So it's going to concatenate the county column and then the state column. But in between, it's going to actually add this state column to the United States, like a comma, then the country. And then in between the county and the state, it's going to add another comma. That's all it's doing, right? So the way we know that this is going to work is one, we get a green tick down here, and that's going to show us that that formula is legit. And the other way we know it's going to work is if it minimizes the amount of errors on the map that we get. So, okay, finish. Let me just get rid of this now. So let's add a Google Maps map, right? Let's make that a little bit bigger. And then got the country here and the date. So don't worry about the date for now, but let's get rid of the country and go county, country. So see how it's got a lot of, if I don't do anything, it's got a lot of bubbles everywhere. If I swap this county into county, country, it's going to be less of these. So straight away, most of them are actually in the legit US territories. So then I want to go cases as the size of the bubble. So cases, the size of the bubble. So what this means is that if we look back at the data set that we've got, this data set starts at January 2020, I think. January 2020, all the way till the current day. And it's daily. So if I don't put any filters and I put just cases here, the size of the bubble will represent the total number of cases to date that we've seen in each of these counties, okay? So obviously the New York City is the biggest, so straight away that kind of makes sense. And most of these on this are on the right-hand side of the country, right? Okay, so that first chart's done. Let's add another chart in here, and let's add a spark line. And if we add a spark line in here, let's actually just change that to a smoothed time series. That's a little bit better. So this one is by default got on the bottom, it's the date of the cases, and then on the y-axis is the number of cases per day. So, you know, more and more cases per day, okay? Now, there's a few other things we need to do. So let's go into style. Let's style this a little bit. Let's smoothed. We're showing the axes, yep. Let's show the title of the axes, just so we know what we're talking about. So that's number of cases to date. And then let's go grid is, oops. So grid, I think, oh, actually, grid color, there we go, transparent. So this makes it a little bit easier to read. Beautiful. Okay, so that's for that. Now let's come back here. The other thing we want to do to allow for interactivity. So if I click on something, if I click on a county here, it'll actually filter the bottom graph. I need to effectively enable that option. So if I go into styles and I scroll all the way down, actually no styles, in the data. So if I scroll all the way down and it says interactions here, and I want to apply that filter. So what's going to happen is when I click on something in any county that has data in the graph, in the map, then the graph will filter for that, okay? And then that's basically it. So let's see how this looks now. If we go to view, so we can see if I hover over, I've got, you know, cumulative cases, boom, 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 boom. And then I can hover over this as well. So if I go to New York City, that's the number of cases. So this is, again, increased and remains steady. Now, again, some of these may not be entirely accurate because of the data source that we're using. So this is only a publicly available free data source that I've very quickly found online. But you can use any, and you can use any with Data Studio. So that's kind of the beautiful thing about it. So if I click on any one of these east, about Jefferson. See, there's different patterns in here, so you can do quite nice sort of graphics with it. You can find some very interesting patterns in the data, right? Now the other way you can sort of, we won't go into detail now, but the other way you can actually do if you want to go really experimental is if you want to actually break out all the counties into the bottom graph. So let's just make this a little bit bigger. And then you go, let's go county dimension. So breakout dimension. This might be actually way too many of them for this graphs because the more, see, there you go, the more counties, the harder it is to read. But you can see how this could look. So Los Angeles, I think this one looks very similar. New York City, obviously the biggest, and so on and so forth. So and then now, if we go to viewing it, if we click on a bubble graph, by any kind of bubble up here, it'll filter it, or still filter it, but it'll, you know, filter only on the color. So Covington, and then that county's color was gray, so therefore that one. So see, they only really started to have escalated cases from June 12 onwards. as opposed to New York City had it much earlier than this. So that's basically it. That's how you create a dashboard of COVID-19 cases and track it yourself. Make up your own mind about the number of cases out there and which ones, how they're trending in different parts of the United States. Thanks, guys.